What's up, y'all? What's up, y'all? We back for another episode here in the chair. We in the chair outside. It's kind of nice out today. Today's a little different though. Not much programming, not much code and stuff. Today I will actually want to talk about my 5 favorite books because I enjoy reading, and why not? Because these books have been helpful for me. Maybe they're helpful for you. These are like my top 5 favorite books. All right, so in no particular order, to be honest. Let's get into it. The first book I wanted to talk about was The Four Agreements. The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Don Miguel Ruiz. This book is pretty cool. It it has some like religious aspect, but I don't know if you guys are into religion. But there's like he talks about like the Toltec and like there's some like woo woo stuff maybe. Some people would call that, or like religious stuff. And but if you get through that, there's like a lot of wisdom. Like I feel like anyone can take wisdom from that, no matter your religion or whatever you believe in. There's a lot of wisdom, especially like within the four agreements themselves. I'll just go ahead and name them. What are they? It's be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions, and do your best. Those are some really good keys to live by, or agreements to live by, because like I'm actually rereading it right now, and I'm like, damn, like yeah, these agreements are a pretty cool way to live. I mean, not I don't think about them every day, but applying them to your life can be really useful. And even before reading this book, I kind of applied some of them, but not all the time. But this book really helped like bring that to the light. But yeah, check it out. This book has a lot of wisdom, and I really enjoyed it. And it's short. Like it's not gonna take it that long. So yeah, check it out. All right, on to the next one. The next book I want to talk about was The Alchemist. This book right here is pretty cool. Pretty cool. It's a fiction book, so it's a little different than the other ones on this list. But it's a fiction book, and it's a pretty cool story. Like, shout out to any dreamers out there or people like chasing their goals. This AC always cuts on while we're filming. Uh, shout out to the dreamers out there. This book is I'll give a little detail in case you guys don't know. Like the main character, he has like this dream that he thinks about, but he hasn't pursued it yet. And throughout the book, it takes you through his journey and what is it? In kind of going for his dream and like the ups and downs, and him kind of finally finding fulfillment. And yeah, it's a cool book. Like I was reading it before my move to Atlanta, so it was it was kind of like it was cool because it was like I took some insights from it. And I remember one of them was so the boy in the book, he's a shepherd, right? Like, so he spent years like walking around. I think it's like Spain or some shit. Walking around with his sheep, selling their wool, right? And then there comes a point in his book where, in order to chase his dreams, he has to like sell his sheep and stop being a shepherd. And at the point in time I read that, I was like, oh wow, like that's pretty. I got some really good insight from that, because I'm like, dang, he had to, because his identity was stuck with like being a shepherd, and oh, this is what I do. How could I sell all my sheep, right? And yeah, like, and he had to sell them, and he didn't get what he wanted, but he got what he needed, like in return, like in terms of money. And I found like some analysis, what's the word? Analogous. I don't know if that. Yeah, that's the word, but I don't know if I'm using it correctly. I kind of took that and like applied it to my own life. I'm like, I'm gonna sell my sheep. I need to start selling all my sheep. So I kind of like just started selling all my belongings, because I mean, I don't know, like this is just material stuff, and I had accumulated a lot. Not like I wasn't really like, I didn't have a but I had like a lot of stuff I wasn't using that I didn't really care for anymore. So I just started selling everything. Like, I don't need this, bro. Like, if anybody want to buy, I'm selling this book. No, I'm joking. But yeah, like, I decided to sell all my sheep too, because I wanted to chase my dreams. So yeah, it was a cool book. My next book I want to talk about was Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Now, this book's a little bit more intense. Viktor Frankl was a Holocaust survivor. He was a psychologist who went through the Holocaust, and he wrote about it. And he also like he was writing while in the internment camps. I think I think they were called internment camps. Don't quote me on that. I haven't. Yeah, I think they were called internment concentration camps. I think that's what it was. It wasn't internment. I think that the Japanese were in internment camps. We don't talk about that. He went through the Holocaust, and despite all that, like his wife died, his child, like his daughter died. He was still able to kind of to go like to push through all that and like still find meaning in life, and it's really powerful. To be honest, it's really powerful. I actually read this book while I was in college. It was actually during like if you guys watched my like video on my journey to be a developer, it was during the time when I had like a terrible semester. I was like kind of depressed, and this book really kind of helped me like kind of get out of it. Cause I was like, dang, like this man like went through hell and back, and like, he still found a way to find meaning and to persevere and not let that affect him, because he experienced like some of the worst atrocities that humanity has done to itself. But yeah, it was a really cool book, and man, we meaning is something that is very important. I feel like I think we all humans, we have like a deep sense or a deep need for meaning in our lives, and we all get it through different avenues. So check out the book. It's pretty cool. And the next one is Dopamine Nation, Finding Balance in the Age of Indulgence. This book was really cool, and it was a pretty quick read. I'm not a fast reader, but I read this like in a week, and I was like, oh wow. I was glued to it because like it caught my attention so much because it talks about like addiction and how we're all kind of susceptible to it in a way, and we're all like addicted to our own things, like not clinically addicted or whatever, like because in psychology there's like some standards you need to meet before you're considered addicted. But we're all we have habits that are hard to break, or we have things we indulge in that are necessarily not the best for us, like food, sex, porn, drugs, you know. And not that doing them is bad, but when you over consume them and you can't control your impulse, then it's really bad. And this book talks about that, and it made me like kind of reflect like on things that I have indulged in and behaviors I have indulged in, and I was like, dang, like it's crazy. This man might be addicted to something. It kind of breaks down like the science of how, I mean, not fully because we don't fully understand, but it kind of breaks down the science of how we get addicted. Like we get these little spikes of dopamine, and then we crave like that high that the whatever the activity or the substance gives us, and then it becomes a slippery slope, and then you can't live without it. And what's really useful too, though, is like the tools that she gives us. Like she mentions like trying to go 30 days without XYZ, whatever it is. Also, there's like a little diagram that she mentions. I think it was it's mentioned how radical honesty. Radical honesty. I felt like that alone was really not eye opening, but I was like, because I mean, like everyone, I struggle with like bad habits or things that I wasn't necessarily proud of. Knowing how to prevent that is like important, because you can be aware of it, but if you don't really know what to do or how to stop, then it's gonna be really hard. So this book kind of helped. Oh, here's the diagram. We have destructive shame. So you overconsume something, and then you feel shame, and then you lie about it, and then you go into isolation, and then it's like a cycle that just repeats itself. The way to break that is you overconsume, and then you have some shame, right? But then you're honest about it, and you accept, and you just try to be better the next time. And that, I think that difference alone can really change or help break a habit or an addiction. And the final book I wanted to talk about, which I don't have a physical copy of. I'm sorry, y'all. I didn't want to buy it. I already bought. I have a lot of books, and I want to buy it. I already read it or I listened to it. But yeah, the next book is "Can't Hurt Me" by David Goggins. That book is pretty cool. Pretty cool. It talks about David Goggins' story of his life story and how he went from basically how he went from like a 300-pound or something like that minimum wage cockroach exterminator to like a Navy SEAL ultra marathon runner. And I mean that's a crazy, like there's a lot that goes into going from the minimum wage worker or the 300-pound guy to a Navy SEAL ultra marathon runner. But yeah, that book is crazy. It's crazy. But to be honest, what I really took from that book is like there like are no limits, man. We set these limits on ourselves as like individually, a society, culture, group, people around you. We all we kind of set these limits, but in reality, there really isn't any. Because we set a limit and then one day it gets broken and we're like, oh, we just changed the limit, right? And it kind of repeats. While reading the book, I thought about how, because in the book, he talks about ultra marathon running. And there's people out there. There's people out there running 200, 300, I think almost 400, 500 now, mile races. They run for a couple days. I think maybe they stop, maybe they don't. And they just run like ridiculous amount of miles. And I was like, damn. And like, they're just regular people like us. Like if you saw those runners on the street, you wouldn't think, oh, that person can run 300 miles, right? But they do. And we probably could too. We just don't think we can. So we limit ourselves. We're like, we don't need, we don't want to. That's crazy, right? Which maybe not. I'm not the judge here. But yeah, and then I thought about, while reading the book, I thought about how I think before the 60s, no one had ran a 4-minute mile. And we're like, it's impossible. And they can't run 4-minute mile. But then one year somebody did it, and then somebody else did it, and then the following year, everybody started doing it. Like basically everybody did it after that. And I don't know. I don't know what that tells us. Was it just the shoes? Maybe. No. You could maybe it was the shoes, because I guess maybe shoes got better. That was one of my takeaways from the book. That, I mean, we could do anything, to be honest, but we limit ourselves. And shout out to David Goggins. That man's a beast. Yeah, that's my top 5 favorite books. Some honorable mentions. Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty. That was really cool. That was the first book I read actually before I started reading heavily on my journey. Which I mean not the first book I read. The first book I read recently that got me reading a lot of books. What else? Unf yourself, to not curse. Unf yourself. That book was really cool. It helped me get out my mind and into my life. I remember that takeaway from that. And then Power of Now by Mr. Eckhart Tolle, which he was featured on that Kendrick Lamar album. Shout out to Mr. Tolle. And Atomic Habits was cool too. Atomic Habits. That would be up there too, but I kind of already had good habits when I read it. So I was like, this is a good book. But it wasn't as changing, I guess, because I kind of understood or I was already doing some of the stuff. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Tell your mama, tell your dad that you love them. Or maybe about this video. I don't know. But yeah, y'all have a good day. Oh, before I go though, drop any book recommendations or let me know of any books that changed your life, because I'm always looking to read new books. I have a catalog. I kind of some I read, some I listen, depending on what I think about it. Basically, I guess I do judge a book by its cover. I'm sorry, man. I'm just a human. Oh, and I gotta go. So thank y'all for tuning in. Peace.